Out of all of Ben 10's various alien transformations, I would say that Ripjaws is like the Meg Griffin of the family.
Get out! Get out of this house! I said no!
Don't get me wrong, I love Ripjaws. He was one of my absolute favourites growing up, but even now he's not exactly at the bottom of the list either. You are. That's right. You know what you fucking did. You disgust me. You make me sick! Ripjaws is an excellent alien with a fun design across all of the series. Yes, even that one.
Hi, how are you?
A decently interesting yet believable set of powers for an alien life form to possess, an interesting homeworld, some honestly fascinating lore for both him and his homeworld alike, and I really like the other individual of his species who is part of the supporting cast, Magista Fatalidae.
Robots and the drink!
But despite all of the things that he has going for him, Ripjaws, more often than not, seems to be treated by the writers as little more than a joke.
Can't breathe. Need water.
The Ben 10 fandom themselves have asked many times why Ripjaws doesn't come equipped with a Rebreather or breathing brace, as seen with characters like Fatalidae and even Brainstorm from within the Omnitrix. So today, let's discuss the topic and explain why personally I think the Ripjaws lacks a Rebreather for a good reason. Without further ado, let's get right into it. It's hero time! Also, disclaimer, this took me 7 minutes of takes, so I'm sorry if I have any line flubs past this point that I leave in. I'm sick. So first of all, let's go over the most realistic answers for this question, and then we'll move into possible in-universe explanations afterwards. So first of all, there are a few proper reasons as to why Ripjaws doesn't have a Rebreather or breathing brace and Brainstorm does. First of all, Ripjaws came before Brainstorm, and the two debuted in different series within the franchise. While the writers thought an alien could and couldn't have his equipment included in the transformation differed between shows, and so one got shafted, the other got a breathing brace.
Yeah.
However, seeing as Ripjaws did actually appear in UAF and still didn't have a breathing brace there, this may not be the most convincing of reasons, so let's look elsewhere. An alternative answer is that Ripjaws never had a Rebreather for the sake of easy stakes in the original Ben 10 series. After all, with the prototype Omnitrix being a device that consistently mistransformed Ben into the wrong aliens, the originally 1 in 10 chance that Ben would transform into an alien that wasn't going to be able to survive for 10 minutes unless they were close to a body of water was a simple and effective way to build the stakes. We know that the Ben 10 franchise as a whole has struggled to establish interesting stakes and challenges for different conflicts, hence why the Omnitrix mistransformations were eventually brought back in order to both make more interesting problems to solve, and in order to call back to the original series that Cartoon Network wanted later entries of the franchise to replicate. But now, with both of those theories out of the way, I want to move into potential in-universe reasons for why Ripjaws doesn't have a Rebreather. So let's go over my reasons for that now, because I have a good number more of these theories than, well, realistic answers. First of all, we have to consider what the Omnitrix was made for in the first place. That being the ability for people of different species to better understand one another and their individual ways of life by literally swapping species to become the same species as someone else. The Omnitrix can also scan new DNA fairly easily, so even if you come across a new alien, you can very easily get access to their DNA and become one of them. People make jokes that Brainstorm has a breathing brace and Darwin Waterson here doesn't because the show writers just don't like him. And while this is a funny prospect, let's seriously ponder on why the missing link doesn't have a Rebreather but Neocortex does. Let's work under the assumption that when the Omnitrix turns a person into an individual of a species, it gives them whatever equipment is necessary for that individual to survive as a member of that species if they are on that species' home planet specifically. Sort of like the watch acts as a way for a person to instantly adapt to life on a new world in a new and better suited body, similar to the artificial Na'vi bodies in the Avatar movies. See, just by taking a look at Brainstorm's homeworld, Encephalonis 4, we see that the planet is home to, at least in some regions, swampland oceans with gigantic trees. The Cerebrocrustaceans themselves are clearly built for amphibious traversal, able to crawl around on the seabed but also walk around on the tall trees of their world. They likely adapted this ability as the result of the planet's twin moons. With 2 moons pulling at the oceans of Encephalonis 4, tidal motions and wave formations would likely be a lot more severe and dangerous than those of the planet Earth, especially considering the scale and/or proximity of these moons to the planet itself. As a result, Cerebrocrustaceans likely evolved to climb up out of the water and hide on the branches of the trees during particularly harsh tidal flows, returning back beneath the waves once the waters have settled down. Because of this, there is both need for a Cerebrocrustacean to survive on land and underwater. So if the Omnitrix turns you into a peak individual of a species, something that we know to be canon, then the fact that the Omnitrix provides a breathing brace for Brainstorm makes perfect sense, as it needs to be ensured that the individual can survive for as long as possible outside of water on their homeworld. You may think it's weird for a species that can only breathe underwater to emerge onto land for any stretch of time, but this is actually a surprisingly common niche for aquatic life on the planet Earth. Animals that can only breathe underwater yet choose to move onto land for brief periods are octopi, Atlantic eels, lungfish, mudskippers, and yes, even some species of crustacean. So it really isn't outside the realm of possibility for us to assume that Cerebrocrustaceans have breathing braces to assist in a similar lifestyle with reduced risk. But now let's turn our attention to the planet of Pisces and apply the same logic we used to determine why Cerebrocrustaceans would have breathing braces if the Omnitrix gives an alien the necessary equipment required to survive life on their homeworld. Just one look at Pisces and it becomes immediately clear why the Omnitrix would not give a Piscciss Volann a rebreather if it was designed to give necessary equipment for survival. The planet of Pisces is literally just an ocean.
Subnauseous!
With no surface land masses to crawl upon, the Piscciss Volanns did not naturally evolve the ability to breathe air because there was no reason for them to. And the same logic applies to developing rebreather technology because, well, why would they develop technology that allows them to breathe on land if there's no land for them to breathe on in the first place? If the Omnitrix gave Brainstorm a breathing brace because the Cerebrocrustacean way of life involves survival both on land and underwater, then it makes sense that the Piscciss Volann didn't get something similar because there was literally no need for it on their homeworld. Remember, the Omnitrix was made to allow a person to step into the shoes of another species. It was not designed to turn the wielder into a shape-shifting superhero.
The Science Show!
Pianos!
So adding a rebreather to a species from an entirely oceanic planet just plain doesn't make sense when the idea is most likely that you're only going to be becoming a Piscciss Volann when visiting Pisces, you know, with the original idea of the Omnitrix in mind. I know that people will try and bring up that there are canonical Piscciss Volann with rebreathers, but do you know why these ones have rebreathers? Because they aren't on their home planet. This technology was developed by the Piscciss Volann or bought from some other species in order to allow Piscciss Volann to travel to other worlds and survive both on land and on any spacecraft that doesn't come equipped with a built-in swimming pool. It isn't necessary for a Piscciss Volann on their homeworld, so the Omnitrix does not include it as vital equipment. But then people will ask, if they can't breathe on land and have no need to, well then why can they turn their tail into a pair of legs? The answer for this is fairly simple. They can turn their tails into legs in order to walk on the surface of the planet's core. You might immediately say that this makes no sense and that it's utterly impossible, but I have concrete evidence that proves this fact. Ripjaws has a lure which means that he is most likely a deep-sea predator, suited to using his lure to draw in prey in the darkness. And deep-sea predators are able to resist greater magnitudes of gravitational pressure and water pressure due to their relative proximity to the core of the planet. Another species from Pisces, the Pisces preman, have legs, and there is literally no point evolutionarily for them to have legs if there is no solid ground for them to walk on, meaning that they must be able to walk on the surface of the planet's core. If they can do it, then the Piscciss Volann probably can as well, and thus evolve the ability to create legs in order to stand on the core's surface. But all of this is to say, the Piscciss Volann don't have rebreathers because they physically don't need them. They can turn their tail into legs not because they adapted to walking on land, but rather because they can walk on their home planet's solid core. They don't need a rebreather to survive on their homeworld because the whole thing is an ocean. Therefore, the Omnitrix wouldn't deem it necessary equipment for survival. And the Omnitrix wasn't made with heroics in mind, so it makes sense that the Piscciss Volann transformation wouldn't come equipped with a rebreather when this Rebreather transformation does, because one is vital to the way of life for a species, and the other is literally irrelevant to the survival of the species. But with all of that said, that's about all I have to say with this video. This one was very frustrating. I flubbed my lines a lot because there's a lot of big words, so editing this will be very fun. But regardless, I do hope that I managed to get my points across clearly, even if I did have to make a few logical leaps here and there in order for things to fit together cleanly, which I am aware isn't always the best approach, but whatever. Feel free to leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below, and with that, let's move into our usual post-video rituals. First of all, big shout out to our channel's Thunderbeasts, Riverjoy, Hearn_, Mininal Muir, Victor Matusik, Charscrim AA, and Plasma6. Now let's move into last video's poll, where I asked you guys if you preferred Wrath, Humungosaur, or Forearms out of Ben's designated muscle aliens. Also, yes, I did forget Kickenhawk when I made this, but I know he would have come last anyway, so it doesn't really matter. With 3,352 total votes, Wrath surprisingly came in first with a whopping great big 53% of the votes amassed, which I seriously wasn't expecting. Humungosaur came in second with 24% of the total votes, and Forearms followed close behind but ultimately came in last place with 23% of the total votes. Personally, my favourite is Humungosaur. I like my big dino boy a lot when it comes to both voice, appearance, and feats, and while I can't really explain why I like him so much, it's just a plain old instinct of mine. Plus his forehead nose is cool, I like diverse alien biology like that, so, you know, props there. Wrath is funny to me at times, but I just find him kind of annoying and I'm not really a loud equals funny person most of the time. And Forearms is iconic, but just doesn't feel quite as cool to me for whatever reason. Also, come on, the Vaxasaurian boner theory is the best thing on my channel, hands down. So now let's give a shout out to everyone who correctly guessed that my favourite was Humungosaur. So, big shout out to Ezekiel Cortez 7934, Demlog YT, Ret Requiem, a random commenter 95, the Mossy Slime, the Corruptor 985, X2PPG 268, Oreo Fandom Beastars 7982, Earthrealm Warrior, Ripbrox Channel 3927, Angel the Fluffy Dragon 3787, great name by the way, Kia 5884, and Yamato 9753. Congratulations to everyone who guessed correctly, but that isn't actually the end of this video shoutout section. I also want to give a shout out to Eurotech Africa Mining BG7FF, Helix Sol 7171, Christian Zeba KC8TX, Happy Axolotl 24, Yamato 9753, Scalabanken 3787, probably butchered that, sorry, Pizza Wolfer 1947, and Mega Pokemon Fan 97. I wanted to give you guys a shout out as well for making these utterly brilliant Wrath comments. Each and every one of them got a real chuckle out of me, so even though you didn't guess correctly, you still get a shout out for putting a smile on my face. Well done, guys. Hell, some of you even got a second shout out there, so well done. But now let's finish things off by moving into this video's poll. This time, I'm going to be asking you guys which one of the ape-like Ben 10 aliens is your favourite. OV Shocksquatch, Ultimate Spider Monkey, Blocks, or for the sake of having 4 poll options, Heroes United Shocksquatch. Leave a comment below on the poll guessing which one of these you think is my favourite for a chance to get a shout out next video, and with that, I'll be seeing you all next time. Adios, fellow heroes. Fucking hell, that is 27 minutes of raw footage with all my outtakes. Fuck.